Hello, I'm Brian Cameron. I'm the Faculty Director for the Graduate Certificate in Business Architecture. This 3-course, 9-credit online graduate certificate is designed to help managers and leaders align an organization's strategic objectives with tactical, enterprise-level projects and technology initiatives. The curriculum includes content on enterprise modeling, organizational technology and innovation, and effective enterprise transformation and business strategy execution. Business architecture is a rapidly growing field today. Business architecture aligns strategic objectives and tactical initiatives that often involve the use of enterprise information technology. A business architecture approach that delivers business value to the enterprise produces typically several things: an articulation of the strategic requirements of the enterprise, models of the future state that illustrate what the enterprise should look like across multiple business viewpoints and multiple levels of granularity in support of the business strategy, and a roadmap of the change initiatives required to take the organization from the current state to the desired future state. Also, the requirements, principles, standards, guidelines that will steer the implementation of the change initiatives are often typically produced as part of the business architecture process. The primary purpose of describing a business architecture for an organization is to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the business itself. This includes innovations in structure of the organization, possible centralization or federalization of business processes, the quality and timeliness of business information that's produced, and ensuring that money spent at the project level is in support of the strategic objectives of the larger enterprise. This graduate certificate will provide a holistic approach to business architecture that provides a common understanding of the organization, its sources of innovation and distinctiveness, and an approach for effective organizational transformation and strategy execution. So let's take a step back for a second and look at some of the industry drivers behind the graduate certificate and some of the details of the certificate. The business architecture concentration and graduate certificate has its roots in enterprise architecture. Traditionally, business architecture grew up and in some organizations still resides within enterprise architecture and perhaps even under the IT organization. However, today and in the last several years, there's been a rapid evolution of business architecture. In most progressive organizations, business architecture is no longer part of an IT organization or perhaps even part of enterprise architecture, and is typically aligned with or reports to a strategic business function such as strategic planning. Business architecture is the middle ground between strategy and execution. And it's the middle ground that's often missing or not working very well in many organizations. If you look at the strategy execution success rates of most organizations, they're not good. And that's often attributed to either non-existent or poorly functioning business architecture-related roles. This graphic comes from Bain & Company, where Bain points out that the operating model is the important bridge between strategy and execution, which is true. But understanding that operating model and what our current state is within that operating model and what our desired future state is within the different parts of the operating model, it's really where business architecture comes in to help with that enterprise-wide understanding of our current state or future state on many different levels of granularity and different dimensions, and how we're going to get from current state to future state to form a good, functional, effective, and efficient bridge between the enterprise strategy and the tactical execution of that strategy. We do this in part by modeling the organization on a variety of different levels and in different areas, starting with strategy maps and then going into many other different levels of abstraction through processes, oftentimes centering our thinking and efforts around the capabilities of the organization. So we talk quite a bit about how to understand and model and measure the value of your business capabilities, because they really provide the heart or the core of many business architecture initiatives. So in the certificate, we have 3 courses. It's a 9-credit certificate. The 3 courses are listed on this slide. One of the courses is BA 809, Strategic Business Architecture. In this course, we take a look at how strategy is typically developed in many organizations, the role of business architecture in strategy development and execution. We look at the role of the business architect and the business architecture team and what type of tools they typically use, typically modeling tools and other tools to understand. When I say tools, I'm talking about modeling approaches, not necessarily individual software tools that are typically used to effectively model and understand the enterprise at different levels of abstraction. We also, in this course, talk about building a successful business architecture function and how it needs to be structured and the type of skills needed for success. We also talk about developing a strategic plan for business architecture and how, if your business architecture organization is not at the strategic planning table, how to earn the credibility to get that seat at the strategic planning table that is needed in most organizations. We also look at aligning business architecture with other domains within the organization, and then wind up the course with a discussion on effective leadership for business architecture. Many business architecture groups need effective leaders to be able to evolve into this strategic function and get that seat at the strategic planning table. So we'll talk about some successful approaches for taking your business architecture initiatives through that journey and talk about some of the possible futures for business architecture. And in this course, we'll be bringing in guest speakers from some of the analyst firms like Gartner and Forrester, as well as from some of the leading professional business architecture professional organizations. The next course is Entrepreneurship 810, Emerging Trends, Technology, and Corporate Innovation. This is a unique and interesting course in that it talks about how to foster and grow innovation in your organization. And I would argue that business architecture groups need to be a hub of innovation in their organizations. And we talk about this in BA 809. This course picks up on that theme and talks about how to effectively think about and implement innovation. And most innovations involve some type of technology component today. So we really talk a lot about the technological aspects of innovations in enterprise or in Entrepreneurship 810. Then lastly, EA 873 is an enterprise modeling course. So this gets down into more of the nitty-gritty of how to produce different models and at different layers of abstraction as you're developing your business architecture for the enterprise. So these 3 courses together provide a good holistic approach to business architecture. It's a very unique graduate certificate, and I think you'll find it very beneficial. So if you would like to know more about this graduate certificate or when these courses are offered, please contact our program office. Thank you.